right. Mother, I always love her. My mother. So treat her right, treat her right.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 52 of Formidable Opponents, a show that pits three people who have known each other virtually their entire lives in a series of conversations as we argue what is best in a variety of fun, engaging in critical pop culture topics we all debate about. I'm Randall, and with me as always, Bob and Joseph. And this week's topic, we're honoring the upcoming Mother's Day holiday, and we are arguing best TV mom. For the upcoming Mother's Day holiday, we wanted to showcase our appreciation for our favorite TV moms. Moms everywhere, really. Being a TV mom, much like being a real mom, can be a thankless job. You're usually viewed as a disciplinarian and at times the antagonist. Meanwhile, the goofball father can do no wrong. And what makes it worse, much like television, you're the smart and attractive one. We're giving TV moms the opportunity to shine in this episode. Without moms, where would we be? During the time I was typing up my notes and doing my research, my wife was hard at work on her day off at the office while I was at home with the kids. I had the door locked and both of them shouting at each other. It's okay though. They both have iPads and I opened up a jar of Nutella for them. Whether you prefer the more traditional portrayal of these household matriarchs or you're into more modern TV moms, we cannot stress the lessons each have taught us. Think about it this way. If it weren't for TV moms, we'd have a lot more TV uncles we'd be subjected to who do impressions of Bullwinkle and who have cheated on Alanis Morissette after she went down on him in the theater. We here at Formidable Opponents know that that role of a TV mom is a sacred one. Just like our moms and the moms in our lives, there isn't anything they can't do. That's why we love them. And that's why this week we are debating who is the all-time best TV mom. Wally and the Beaver, how are you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. It's been a great little weekend. Been looking forward to this episode.
This is something really cool that I'm glad we're going to do because we did do the best TV dad already. I don't think we timed that one around Father's Day. I think we just did it, and this one's going to be cool. So
yeah, especially could we get to honor the moms, all the great, beautiful moms out there.
Absolutely. So we do want to honor our moms, and we're going to talk about great TV moms, the best TV moms that we think, actually. So, Joseph, you mentioned our Best TV Dads episode. That episode was a good one. So just in case you guys haven't followed along with us, when we started off, it was one of our first episodes, and we submitted our podcast to a review show called Just One Listen Podcast. It's hosted by a gentleman by the name of Jeremy Mack, and what he does, he's kind of like the Simon Cowell of podcasts. Like, he'll listen to podcasts, review them, and
does he wear deep V-necks?
He has horrible plastic surgery as well. So I don't think he's doing any podcast as of late. Just One Listen. It's a good podcast show. Each episode is about 12 minutes long, and we submitted our podcast to him. And I specifically and clearly wrote, these are the podcast episodes you should listen to. And I wrote I didn't want him to listen to the TV Dads one because I had a major blunder on the edit. The outro music came way too early. And sure enough, when he was reviewing our podcast, that's the one he reviewed. And he was like, hey, what the fuck's going on here? What's going on with the music? But he still gave us a good rating, and we are proud of that episode. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. Best TV show dad. And so now we're talking about the sequel. And before we get to that, we want to thank all of our Instagram followers. We're almost at 1,000 followers, although 25% of our followers are podcast promoters from other countries who have 5 years experience promoting. But hey, we'll take it.
Hey, promote us on this. Hey, promote us on that. Promote it on this. Oh.
So we're happy about the Instagram following, just growing it, and we encourage you guys to rank and rate our shows and listen to us at whatever podcast platform you guys prefer. So, Bob and Joseph, talking about moms this week, what are some of the qualities we are looking for when debating who we think the best TV mom is?
For me, I think it's got to be, obviously, a loving mother. I mean, for TV mom, I think what we're mainly talking about is sitcoms for the most part. We know there's a lot of there's serious shows out there, dramas and whatnot, but I think for this one we're going to kind of roll with the sitcom vibe. For that, I believe, like I said, loving, funny, caring, just what everything that we hope that that our mom is, so as long as we see what on screen, what we're seeing at home, then I think it's a winner.
Yeah, man, I agree 1,000,000% with that. I think it has to be, we're looking forward to a TV show mom is somebody that's relatable, somebody that maybe reminds you of your own mom or your grandmother or your aunt or somebody who is a mother figure to you. They should definitely be loving, a little bit crazy, a little bit funny, out there, over the top even. There's so many different TV mom takes out there that this is a really tough subject when we're trying to choose the best TV mom. There's so many great TV moms out there, and they're all different and individual. And it was great to be able to research this and look up and like laugh at some of the old 90s sitcoms, 80s sitcoms, and even the newer stuff. There's some great TV moms out there that we're fortunate enough to have.
I agree. I think the mom, for the most part, although really open to whatever sort of comedy, as long as it's funny, but they're usually a better straight person because it's usually a comedian or a comedic actor who's playing the father. So somebody who could go toe to toe and keep up with the comedy, because I think if you cast two comedians as, mom and dad, sometimes that's sort of a tug of war in terms of who's getting the laughs, who's getting the attention. But a good straight person, I think, makes a great mom. Somebody who's level-headed, juggles a job in a household, and that authentic warmth you guys talked about. Somebody who is going to be that strong matriarch and make a difference in the show. We've seen old sitcoms where the mom was kind of a secondary character, and I think we've seen the mom evolve to a stronger, that's betting, to a stronger...
more better.
A more gooder,
And
so go ahead, Joseph.
No, I was gonna say, and to clarify, he means straightforward mother. He does not mean straight. He did not mean. Way
to go, Ryan. We're just gonna get a lot of hate mail over that. You gotta be more clear with your.
He did not mean that. I'm sure.
He meant stern. He meant stern.
Straight person in comedy is what I meant. So
yes,
exactly. And it's
terrible choice of words.
Just want to throw that out.
We got a lot of memos now. You wanted memos. We're getting them.
So in sitcoms, mothers have traditionally brushed aside. They've been brushed aside and used as a supportive member, as I mentioned before, of the family. What took TV so long to give them equal footing? And let me give you an example before you guys answer. I wasn't a big fan of Schitt's Creek, but Moira Rose... Yeah, I thought it was funny.
Those
I thought
fighting words, man.
Catherine O'Hara stole the show. I mean, what do you guys think?
I love Schitt's Creek. Well, Catherine O'Hara, she has been my favorite for a very long time. Her comedy and her movies and everything she's done. I love Catherine O'Hara. I think she's amazing. As far as transitioning from just the supporting character to like the main character, I don't know what the hell took them so long.
Yeah.
Mothers in real life and in these TV shows, a lot of times they're running the damn show. You know what I mean? They're setting everything up. Everything runs through them. So I don't know how they couldn't, center a TV show around a mom, or at least give her more TV time, I guess, or more airtime, or more screen time, or whatever the case is, because it just never didn't make sense to me. I'm glad that, I wouldn't call it progressive, but I'm glad that more TV shows are taking more of that progressive step and making TV moms, like putting them in the forefront for shows, because they're just as funny, just as crazy, just as great as any TV dad that's out there.
I agree. I think a great show has a great back and forth between the mother and father character. I know back, more in the 80s and maybe with some shows that we'll mention or TV mothers that we'll talk about, or in general, the show was primarily, I guess, maybe about the father. So it was like the father's relationship with his kids, and the mother was there, like you said, as, this kind of supportive member. But nowadays, like I mentioned, like, you can't have a great show. Like, I didn't watch Modern Family, but I know it was so successful because...
Jesus Christ, what's wrong with you, Woodran? I didn't like Schitt's Creek. Or what the hell?
I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said I haven't watched it.
Okay.
I haven't had a chance to watch it. But I know that I can't remember her name, the actress who plays... both actresses that played mother characters... in their respective relationships on the, there's like the three different couples in that show, but
Claire's hilarious.
they're very, very I know those shows, and they have great, I've seen clips of them. They were it was a very successful show, and it had great back and forth between the characters that were the mother and the father. So I mean, it works. Like, yes, of course it works. It has to work. I mean, there is no family without the mother, obviously. So I don't know why it took so long. And I guess maybe because it was that, maybe because it was if the show was about, it was given to maybe a male comedian, it was the male father's character's relationship with his kids. So I don't know. I mean, but at least we see that now.
Julie Bowen was the
Julie
mom.
Bowen.
Yeah, and she's
and what's her name?
Sofia Vergara.
Sofia Vergara. Yeah. There you go.
That show was good. It should have been canceled 2 years. Well, it wasn't canceled. It ran its course, but the first 9 seasons are fantastic. The last 2 seasons, they really struggled. We talked about mothers as female leads in sitcoms, but the original sitcoms started that way. I Love Lucy was about, Lucille Ball, the Donna Reed show. But then we went through a period in the 70s, 80s, and even throughout the 90s where the mom was always the supporting character, and not necessarily always a supporting character to the father, but sometimes to the children. And we finally started. And what show would you guys say where the mom really started taking off to the forefront and kind of led the way? I would say it was Roseanne. I mean, whatever you think about her personally.
Probably. Yeah. Oh, definitely. I agree with that 100%. Where she was in the forefront, like she was the main character. The kids went to her. I mean, as well as the dad. The dad was great as well. Yeah, but they went to her for advice and for everything. So yeah, I would say that's a great mention right there with Roseanne. I think that's when things started to maybe change a little bit again.
There's a balance, I guess, or maybe not, like a character that, and I'll just talk about it now real quickly. I didn't even put her on on my honorable mention list. I can't remember her name all of a sudden. But Corey's mom in Boy Meets World, one of my favorite shows. Yeah. I think she is a very caring and loving mother, but this is an example of a show where the show's about him. The show's about Corey, Boy Meets World. And I guess his friends, but it's mainly his relationship with his father
and Mr. Feeney.
Yeah,
so and it shies away from the mom. Yeah,
and while the mother is there throughout the whole thing, and she has her moments where she's obviously a mother and there for her kids, and with little a little quip here, funny comeback to something that the kid says. It's mainly, and this was in the 90s, so I mean, I guess maybe, but so was Roseanne. So we kind of, maybe there's that balance or that mixture where we see where it starts to change. And like I said, that was one of my favorite shows, but I can't honestly say that she was put her on like something like this, like a list of TV moms.
Maybe I'm wrong for saying this, or maybe this is just a theory. Maybe because back then, maybe in the 50s, 60s, early 70s, like, you saw a lot of stay-at-home moms starting to transition in the late 70s and 80s and 90s to getting these big careers. And I think they wanted to show, like, going to college, getting degree careers, becoming doctors. And I think they kind of wanted to show that maybe like in the 80s and 90s, where they weren't just moms, they were career-oriented women that were they were also wives, that were also mothers. And I think that's a great thing. I don't know why they would shy away from them not being more in the forefront, you know what I mean? Considering how successful they are, how they're not just, they're the matriarch, they're not just the head of the household, but they're, they got a beautiful career going on as well. So maybe that transition, I don't know, man. I don't know why it was and why they kind of got not cast aside, but were secondary characters.
Mm-hmm. I think those are all good points. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think once we saw moms more in the career field and we had 2 income households, that's when the interesting facets started to come into play. I think we saw a lot more women as head writers on TV shows too, telling their story. Yeah. And Roseanne was based on her stand-up comedy. She was the domestic goddess, and she joked around a lot about being a housewife and running a household, and that transitioned well into a TV show. And it helped a lot that she had John Goodman. I think that was a huge get to get John Goodman on the cast, and to get who's the woman that plays her Aunt Jackie, who's another tremendous actress. So I think she was surrounded by a lot of talent, and that helped her out a lot. And that's why that TV show is so historical. Let me ask you guys the question that's on everybody's mind. And I got a few things to say, so if you don't mind me answering this first, and maybe you can kind of get where I'm going with this. So why is it okay to accept the fact that an average-looking lead who plays the father has to be with an out of his league wife? And I mean, let me run down some points here, because it usually mirrors real life. According to an article,
it definitely mirrors real life
for us, right?
Yeah.
Okay. According to an article on LifeScience.com, research reveals couples in which the wife is better looking than her husband are more positive and supportive than other matchups. The reason researchers suspect is that men place great value on beauty, whereas women, thank goodness, are more interested in having a supportive husband. So I got a few points I want to mention here, and then I want you guys to take it away. I don't give a shit how much money he has. George Lopez could not land Angie Lopez in real life. I don't care. I don't care. That is
he makes her laugh.
That is the biggest mismatch in TV sitcom history. I don't care what you say. George Lopez, come on, man. Okay, so the only exception, and I know that this show didn't end in a marriage, but these two were in a relationship and both were parents. On Who's the Boss, Tony Danza was a better looking person than Judith Light, who played Angela. I would listen to arguments about Tim and Jill Taylor on Home Improvement, but she gave birth to 3 big-headed boys, so she gets a pass. So nobody does this better than Adam Sandler in all his movies. Thank you, sir. But Bob and Joseph, what is your take on the mismatch between husband and wife on these sitcoms?
It's just art imitating life. That's what it is. Like 95% of us, I know I'm a lucky bastard, like, you know, the women or the wives and the moms are always way more attractive than the husbands. I think that's why, this is probably why a lot of the male characters kind of steal the show as the dad, because they have to play the goofy dad, because the wife's obviously way hotter, way more attractive than the dad. So they got to have something going for them. So they got to at least be the funny one or the goofy one or the, you know, the over eccentric one or whatever the case is. But yeah, it's art imitating life, man.
I really have no answer for this. I don't understand it. It's a great question. I'm trying to think of, at the same time, I don't want to like say like, oh, that person was an average looking woman and that person was an average looking guy, so it worked out.
He was beautiful and she was not.
But I mean, just look at the example that I of one that you just mentioned. Yes, of course.
King of Queens is another one.
King of Queens, Leah Remini. Oh, I've had a crush on her since Stacey Croce. And
Same with the bell. That's awesome.
Good reference.
But yeah, I mean, just look at like what I said right now. We were talking about Modern Family. Sofia Vergara's character and Ed O'Neill's character.
How dare you? He scored 4 touchdowns in one game, sir. 4 touchdowns one time.
I mean, I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I mean, they clearly, I don't know. Maybe it's to make the male character in the sitcom, whether it's based on, whether it's his story or the family story or whatever, you know, the story, maybe to make him vulnerable to know like, hey, you can always write that the character knows that he has to do what the wife says because she can easily leave him for somebody more attractive.
Again, art imitating life.
You know, I think your example, Joseph, of Modern Family, I think Ed O'Neill's character is supposed to be, or he's supposed to have a business, or he's supposed to have money, and he's got like the rugged good looks. I think the joke is that he's way older. Yeah, he's way older.
Which I don't discriminate. Hey, you date who you want as long as it's legal. I mean,
yeah, for sure. But oh man, George Lopez, come on, what is he, like a foreman in that show? And his incredibly beautiful wife.
I forgot he's the manager of a aviation plane manufacturing
plant.
Plant facility.
Sure, you know that, but you don't know fucking Schitt's Creek.
I watched the show.
I know.
A lot of 3 a.m. Nickelodeon nights.
Yeah, you wake up at 3 a.m. with your TV on and hear tick, 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 tick. What the fuck?
Can never get away from that guy. All right, guys, let's move on to our honorable mentions.
Well, I'll start off right off the bat with Claire Dunphy from Modern Family.
Yes.
I think she is a riot. She's awesome. She's the head of the household. She's hilarious as well. Carol Brady. I mean, how can you mention best TV show mom without mentioning, I think, one of the original, at least in my point of view, original TV show moms. Deborah Barone and Marie Barone from Everybody Loves Raymond, one of my all-time favorite sitcoms. I love both of them. They're both so like similar and different and crazy, and they're hilarious. Of course, again, Catherine O'Hara, Moira from Schitt's Creek, I think is amazing. She's awesome. Her character, especially, I mean, she does steal the scene and steal the show in a lot of the episodes, which is crazy because there's so many big personalities on that show. So, one of my favorites. I didn't see it till way after it was done, but I really did love the show. And Marge Simpson, we got to mention Marge Simpson,
yes.
TV show, animated TV show mom, great. Having to deal with all the crazy individuals. Another one, Homer married way up on that. If we're talking about TV show, way hotter than goofy looking Homer. What do you got, Joe?
I got Lucille Bluth, Jill Taylor.
Yes, Lucille Bluth.
Not the greatest mother, but funny and I mean,
Buster, she's the best.
I mean, yes, clearly. Like I said, Jill Taylor. I wrote Jill Taylor down. I thought that was a good. I know it's the Home Improvement, and it's mainly the show about Tim Taylor, but I think she's
tool,
keeps him right on his toes and being there for the kids too. I got Reba. I don't know if you ever watched that show. Reba playing a fictional version of herself. Wow, if you follow that show, the shit that she goes through on that show is crazy, and to get through it all as a loving mom is crazy. Peggy Bundy, obviously, for funny reasons, just because you have to mention her. I got Harriet Winslow. I thought she was definitely. I know we talk about Carl Winslow we mentioned him in the Best Dad Show, but I think Harriet Winslow was right up there with him too. I mean,
I think we only mentioned him more because he took the brunt of a lot of jokes because of him and Urkel. And him and Urkel had kind of like a good back and forth with each other. You know what I mean? So that's why I think he was more in the forefront.
But I got her up there with him too. I got Vivian Banks, both of them. Whether I mean, it's a who was better. Is it first Vivian Banks or is it second Vivian Banks? Just Vivian Banks in general. I think regardless of the character, the actor switch, I know we didn't see her. She didn't have as much. That's weird. As many speaking lines or things going on in the second actor's arc, but still. And I had Angie Lopez too. I wrote her down because I said, how does she put up with all the shit that her daughter puts her through, and still just stay married to that man.
Oh man, I think kissing George Lopez was worth hazard pay. I mean, I don't know how the hell you go through that. So I'll go through my honorable mentions. Florida Evans, Good Times, a little bit before our time. She kept the show together after John Amos left the show due to contract negotiations. He wasn't making what he thought he was worth. So the writers wrote in his death. She has that famous scene where she's trying to keep the family together after his funeral, and she finally breaks down and yells, "Damn, damn, damn!" And that's kind of like what she's known for. But I mean, she was a good mom. Carol Brady, as you mentioned, Bob, 6 kids and not one single nervous breakdown. I mean, I don't know how you.
At least one they didn't show, right? She was probably smoking cigarettes behind the house at late at night.
I also had Marge Simpson, and Marge Simpson is just incredible. What hasn't she done? Of course, with animation, you could take a lot more liberties. So I wanted to post my favorite Marge Simpson line. Bart was making fun of grad students, and Marge retorted back, "Bart, don't make fun of grad students. They just made a terrible choice in life." So I felt that one, and I thought Marge was funny for saying that. Claire Dunphy, I felt she really set the tone for the more like 360-degree view of what the modern mom is. Child of divorce, balancing a house, kids, family problems, a dumbass husband. I mean, that show was revolutionary, and he was a good character. It could have ended after 9 seasons, as I mentioned before. Those last 2 seasons were rough, but Claire Dunphy was fantastic. Sophia Petrillo from The Golden Girls, which was my original pick. I decided to change my pick before the last day. I think her humor, teasing, and snappy comebacks were amazing. I think Dorothy had the best lines on the show, but Sophia always knocked them in, and she was great. I had Roseanne Connor. Those first few seasons of Roseanne were incredibly pioneering, although we haven't seen a brashness since. She was fiercely protective of her family and trying to create a better life. She was very prescient, and I think it was I think we undervalue how big that show was in the 90s, and this was before social media and everything else. I had Marion Cunningham from Happy Days. She was just likable. And the one I'm going to mention last, and I know it's one that you guys don't watch, and I think you've given me shit because I've told you I've caught a few episodes. Lorelai Gilmore from the Gilmore Girls. I know you guys give me shit for this, but I've caught this show a few times thanks to my wife. And the writing, when she's not around, I'll watch it too. All right. And the writing is pretty clever. I'll admit that. Single young mom, of course, she's going to have sex with her daughter's teacher at some point, which of course happened. And I called it right as the teacher was introduced. But she is actually a really good mom, really clever writing. And of course, she's an incredible actress.
And she got her daughter all A's, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Got her daughter all A's.
Go ahead.
You
don't just watch that show. If you watch it, see a male teacher character, and you start making predictions. Oh, she's gonna sleep with him. You're highly invested in that show.
Yeah, it's strategic.
Yeah,
Who she's gonna hook up with. All right, it's a good show. I like it. All right.
Nah,
So before we go on to our selections, we're going to take a quick break and listen to a word from our sponsor. Before we go on to our selections, we are excited to tell everyone about this episode's sponsor, Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens is foundational nutrition for just about everyone, fortified with 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients in just one tasty scoop. Bob, Joseph, and listeners, let me tell you, after a good 3-mile run, well, maybe good isn't the operative word for me, but after a 3-mile run nonetheless, there's one thing I have to do first. Well, second. First, I tell my kids not to ask me any questions for the next 15 minutes. Secondly, I have to replenish those lost nutrients. Sometimes after a workout or a run, I'll grab a piece of fruit, and the acidity sometimes doesn't agree with my stomach. This last time, though, I took my Athletic Greens made with quality ingredients in accordance with the strictest standards, and let me tell you, it was a game changer. You can read their full quality ingredient list on their website. I smiled at my children for the first time after physical activity. It was heartwarming, and let me tell you, my heart felt healthy after my glass of Athletic Greens and the science-based comprehensive nutrition that comes with it. Incredibly convenient, better than pills or capsules, easy to drink, and delicious. For your health, for your children's smile, get yourself some Athletic Greens at athleticgreens.com and use our special checkout code EMERGING. That's EMERGING. And now on to our selections. We're back, and now it's time for our selections. First up, we have Joseph. Who do you got for us, Joseph?
All right, I went with Kitty Foreman. All right, Kitty Foreman is the mother of Eric Foreman.
Please, Joseph, hold on before you start. Since you're the master of doing like impressions, can you do the Kitty Foreman laugh?
No,
like
I can't do that.
I love that. That's like the best thing about. Sorry, I didn't mean to screw you up. Go ahead.
No,
man.
It's okay. I'll just start again.
That's
I can't do that.
her.
If I could, I would. Kitty Foreman is the mother of Eric Foreman, one of the main characters, if not the main character of that 70s show. She's also the mother. She's also a mother to Eric's sister Lori and wife to Red Foreman, her husband. She's a bit overprotecting at times, but she clearly loves her kids very, very much. In addition to being a mother of two, as I mentioned, she's a hardworking nurse. Even so that during a period on the show, when her husband Red has a heart attack and could not work, she would work doubles and late shifts in order to provide for the family at all costs, even, often leaving her exhausted and frantic at the times when she was at home. During shifts, all of this in the name of being a loving and caring mother, always putting her family first. At times, she's massively underappreciated by her own children, especially Lori, who I mentioned. Lori is Eric's sister. She is a massive problem child on this show. I mean, the horrible things that she puts her mother through, all while her father, who favors her and has just a blind eye to her. I guess, father, in a father's eyes, a daughter can do no wrong, but she's clearly a horrible person. But her mother is always there. Kitty Foreman is also a mother to all. She's often the caretaker to Eric's friends, Hyde, Kelso, Fez, Jackie, and Donna, with an emphasis on Donna and Hyde. If you know anything about this show, Hyde's basically Eric's best friend, and growing up for him was not an easy time with absentee parents. Kitty is very much a mother to Hyde as well, whom she convinces Red to let him stay with them when he's left alone by his parents. The same can be said for Donna. At one point in the show, her mother leaves her and her father, and Kitty becomes a mother figure to Donna and eventually a mother-in-law. As it's not on the show that they get married, but we do know that there's going to be a continuation called That 90s Show, where the story is going to be about Eric and Donna's kids.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great show.
So obviously they're married. She has never really had a relationship with her mother. We learned this throughout the show. She endlessly grew up trying to please her mother, and even though she loves her, she never felt what she feels for her kids. And I think that is a big factor on how she is as a mom, wanting everybody to feel love and happy and cared for, even if you're not an immediate part of that family. She doesn't want her kids to ever feel like how she felt growing up. And you see episodes, a few of them throughout the seasons, I can't remember, where the late great Betty White plays her mother, and of course Betty White gives this great performance as like this cold, just like, I don't care, like, oh, I didn't have issue, you know. It's just Betty White's awesome, but you see the character that she you know, portrays as this, like, you know, cold mother to Kitty. And so she didn't want her kids to, I feel like she never wanted her kids to feel how she felt growing up. That was my selection, guys. What do you think?
I didn't even take that into account when I was thinking about that. That's a really great point, that she wasn't just a mother to her two kids, to Lori and shit, why am I blanking? What's his name?
Eric.
Eric. Jeez, that was weird. So to Lori and Eric, that she was kind of the mother figure to all the other kids that were there at her house, which is really, really cool. She is a great pick for that specific reason, Joe, that she was a great mother figure to not only to her kids, but everybody else's, as well as that working mom, like you mentioned. I think that's wonderful. I don't remember those episodes. I remember when Red had his heart attack, but I don't remember her working the double shifts and all that stuff, but I think that's really cool. Her character itself, she has the best laugh in all of TV history. I don't think that there's anybody else that could have such a unique laugh. That laugh was like epic. She did it when she was happy. She did it when she was nervous. She did it when she was about to have a breakdown. It was fucking perfect. I love that her passive aggressive nature, and it's just, she is such a hilarious character and a well-rounded character. And I think they did a fantastic job of her and her creating that character. Is so perfect. I love how she's like supposed to be like the really, really positive and sweet one. Total contrast to Red, her husband, who's like the asshole, right? And exactly. And she's like just trying to be sweet and try to be positive and try to be upbeat, and then she like loses her shit. And I love that every time she would lose her shit, like on the kids or on Red, or like this is the way it's supposed to be. And I love how Red's like the asshole and like the patriarch, and it's my way. But every time she snaps her fingers at him, whenever she does, she gets mad. He's like really submissive, so it's extremely perfect, man. And like I love her losing her shit and like asking for a cigarette in certain episodes, or that meme of her. You see the meme like when you've had a long week, her adding more tequila to the margarita blender. I think it's great, man. They still use that. I still see that meme a ton, like on Mondays or on Wednesdays or during the week or whatever it is. She is a great TV mom. This is one that I thought about a lot, especially when you chose her, like going back and watching videos and reading up on her character. Everything about her was great. I'm not going to say anything negative. I can't really think of too many things that are negative because she has a lot of great qualities to her. I'm sure Randy has certain things that she'll, you know, he's going to say she smokes in front of her kids, and that's going to be her business. But I can't think of it. I mean, she's just a great TV mom, a really, really funny TV mom who is also hardworking, and everything about her is so wonderful. I can't say anything negative about her. Randy, your shot, dude. Let's see what you got.
First of all, she smokes in front of her kids. So
there it is.
No. So I didn't watch a lot of that 70s show. I've watched enough episodes to know the characters. I didn't watch a lot of the show. I remember the show debuted on August 23rd, 1998, because I remember Fox hyping it up and intertwining it with the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa home run chase. And since Fox had the MLB rights, you would always see, you know, the Cardinals and Cubs games, and you'd always see that 70s show promos. I'm not going to lie to you guys. When I saw the promos, I said, this show's going to tank. And this show, no way this show is going to be picked up for another season, but prove me wrong. And the show ran for 10 seasons? Something like that. It was a great show. Yeah. It was a great show. It made stars out of everyone involved. It took the baton from Dazed and Confused, and it didn't disappoint. There was a couple of spin. Well, this one wasn't really a spin-off, but I don't know if you guys remember that '80s show.
Yeah,
that just completely tanked, and I don't think it had anything to do with the characters or the premise of this show.
It didn't.
It was just.
It was.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. No, it wasn't. It wasn't any. I don't know if you can call it a spin-off, because you're right. It had no connection to the characters at all. It was supposed to be this whole completely new thing, and I think. I can't remember specifically, but like if you look up the cast list of that '80s show, there's some people that you're like, oh, that person was in, or that person was in, and yeah, it was horrible. I don't even think it was the same writers or anything. So I'm actually, like I mentioned, and Bob said, kind of interested and excited to see this real
take this,
spin-off and '90s one, mainly because it has Red and Kitty. They are going to be. It's supposed to take place in the summer of '95, when Donna and Eric's daughter stays with her the grandparents for the summer. That's when it's supposed to take place. I'm sorry, I would cut way into your.
No, that's good. I'm learning about it. I graduated in 1995, so I'm curious.
I think it's '95. Yeah. It's their 15-year-old daughter, and they're going, and she's visiting her grandparents, Red and Kitty, for the summer. So if Red and Kitty are in it, I'm cool. I hope there's other characters, but I know, the character of Red also is insanely hilarious. So I'm really excited to see this.
Are we gonna get Red dissing the Gin Blossoms and
probably
listening to Nirvana, dumbass?
What the hell is this crap?
So that 80s show, I think the difference, and I hope the 90s show takes a cue from that. Obviously, they are. They're bringing back a lot of the same cast and writers. But I think what the 80s show did is it focused on stereotypes and forced characterizations, and that was unfunny. When you use a decade as the main theme, as a main character, I think that's where it fails. But what the 70s show did is that the 70s were just the time period. It was the backdrop. It wasn't like, okay, we're going to force all these Todd Rundgren jokes and jokes about disco. They were there, but they were just subtle, and it was character driven, and it was well written, and it was funny. So that's all I wanted to say about that. I'm looking forward to the 90s show, and all the cast is back except, of course, Danny Masterson, because he's got his own issues. But
yeah.
Back to Kitty Foreman. Her drinking scenes were great. I mean, I don't think anybody played a drunk mom better than
especially because she was such a sweetheart, and then no one's here drinking and smoking. It was fucking awesome. It really was.
One of my favorite ones was when she accidentally got high. She was
did she ever bust them smoking weed in the basement? She busted them a few times.
Yeah, she busted them. I remember what's the Ashton Kutcher was saying? It's paprika, and she was like, Paprika's red, sweetheart.
Yeah. It's red paprika, yeah.
He's like, it's green. Oh, no,
and that's another thing, too. I love that she tried so hard to, help them when they were in trouble by, they would say something, I think Eric would say something, or Kelsey would say something, and there was one time, I'm pretty sure it was Eric, and she was like, oh no, honey, run. she's like,
he knew he was fucked up.
Yeah, it's hilarious. She's trying so hard, and she played the moderator a lot, and ultimately, like Bob said, she was, if it was gonna happen because she says so, it was gonna happen.
Yeah,
and Red had no power.
That was so perfect about it, because she was so passive and a sweetheart, everything, but when she got pissed, you're like, oh shit, okay. I love that. And I love how they made that great contrast with her and Red, how they're complete opposites, but whenever she became the dominant, whenever she got mad, she was the dominant one, and he was very submissive, okay, yes ma'am, whatever you need.
I like I'm sorry, real quick too, there was another time where Red pisses her off. He says something to piss her off, and I think it's during her, because she goes through menopause. And she gives him a death stare, and he's
what did you say? The same thing you did, honey.
I like, and even Eric does. He goes, Dad, no, don't say. And he's like, Eric, I need you to get to the emergency liquor.
She had the best when a nice person finally gets pushed too far. It's nice reaction. I remember I was looking at some clips, and they were talking about sex, and she had said, "Make sure your fingernails are cut and that they're clean." I thought that was a great line.
Cleanliness is a big deal.
Because I think the character, and this is probably the best example of anybody we've mentioned, this character of Kitty Foreman really evolved because she was the nice mom, sort of submissive to Red, and then you would kind of see like pokes of her getting angry or agitated, or you know, the drunk scenes became more and more prevalent. And I think as the show went on, the character grew, and they said, well, we have a really talented actress playing this mom, and she's really funny, unique, and she fits the mold of everything you'd want in somebody who's a disciplinarian, but also caring, sweet, funny, and charming. So, I mean, great pick. I think she was a bit overshadowed by Red Foreman. That's the one thing, because when you think about that 70s show, I always think about Red Foreman. He's got a catchphrase. He calls everybody dumbass. I see a lot of similarities between, you know, and I won't spoil your pick, Bob, but Bob's pick and your pick,
Don't
Joseph,
do it.
Yeah, no, down to and I won't mention anything else, but even down to the hairstyles. Good TV mom. I think when it comes to memorable characters on the show, I think she's 7th or 8th on the call list. I mean, that's not a bad thing because this is a huge ensemble and it's a show that was loaded with talent. But I think Kitty Foreman, to me, was more like a relief pitcher. She comes in throwing heat, you know, for a drug or sex reference, and that's her strength. That sort of shock value or awkward joke, that's what she excels in, and she's great at doing it. Probably one of the best TV moms ever at that awkward sex or drug joke. She's good for an inning or two, but too much of her, it starts to feel like oversaturation. I think she just knows her spot, and she knows when to come in, and I think that's her strength. But I also think there's other TV moms who are more, I guess you could say, the central focus, and we get a lot more out of them than Kitty Foreman's stereotypical behaviors and reactions. But I mean, it's a great pick, though.
Well, you're an asshole. Anyway, no, and I'm sorry. I didn't. If you didn't know, I should have said this. And I don't think I was. Deborah Jo Rupp, the great Deborah Jo Rupp, is the one who plays Kitty Foreman. I feel bad that I didn't mention the actress's name.
You should.
You know. So yes. If I just wanted to throw that out. I should have mentioned that sooner. Let's go with you, Bob. What do you got next?
I got a lot of things going for me, man. Thanks for asking. Now, for me, for today, for best TV show mom, you know, growing up in the 80s and the 90s, you would have thought I would have chose or would have picked a mom from the 80s or 90s, but I actually went with a mom that in a TV show that came out in 2013, I want to say, or maybe 2010, around there, the late 2000s, but it's based in the 80s. So she's a mom that reminds me a lot of like my aunts and my mothers and my grandmother, all kind of combined into one. I went with Beverly Goldberg from the Goldbergs. She's that overprotective, overdramatic 80s TV mom, or 80s mom, I should say, that embarrasses the shit out of you, but like she does it with so much love that you can't really stay mad at her or get mad at her. She is the ultimate mother, or I love, they call her the smother on the TV show, as they refer to her, because she is so smothering, like she loves him so much and babies him so much that it's so over the top and hilarious. She reminds me, like, again, she reminds me a little bit of some of our aunts or our tias that live down here, that, you know, the ones that still treat you like a baby even though you're like 18 and you have a mustache, you're getting married and they still talk to you with baby. You're like, what the fuck, man? Randy knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, so she's crazy, she's funny, she is amazing. She's played by the great Wendy McClendon Covey. It was just a role that she was born to play. She looks the part too, with all her crazy outfits and her done up hair and the permed hair. I know Randy's going to mention this in a bit, but like she looks like the perfect 80s mom, and she plays the role, I mean, to a T. The Goldbergs is a show that really it's focused on the family, but really it's focused on Adam. He's the main character, the youngest brother of the family, and he's narrating the TV show. It's about his life. But as the show's gone on, it's become the Beverly Goldberg show, to be honest with you. Like, she is the central character. She is the main character. Everybody's lives are all, you know, Dana, Adam, Barry, all the three kids, as well as a husband. Like, all of them are having crazy things going on with their lives, but she's the central character. Everything runs through her. If Adam's having trouble with a girl, like, she's the one to help him and fix it. If Barry's doing any one of his crazy antics or trying out for the football team or doing something really dumb, she's there to steer him back and put him in his place. Dana's the more serious character, the oldest sister. You know, she's trying to get her life together. The mom's there, even though she doesn't want to be smothered. She doesn't want the mom to be overbearing. Even when she leaves for college, you know, the mom is like losing her mind. Of course, Beverly, because she's the overbearing, you know, over the top dramatic mom. But she finds something sweet. Like she finds out her mom's been writing her little notes and leaving her notes in her lunchbox. And before she leaves to college, she's like, that's something I'm really going to miss. So she's the perfect mom in every single way, besides being overly dramatic, besides being overbearing and kind of smothering at times for the kids and embarrassing the shit out of them. She's the perfect mom. And I think she is the most relatable as far as TV moms is concerned. Like she is, of course, Kitty's a great pick. And you know, she kind of can remind me somebody of like, you know, kind of like my mom or something like that. But Beverly Goldberg, she is my aunt. She is my mom. There's certain things that she says or she does that just reminds me so much of my family, and the women have played a prominent role as mothers in my life that it's just, this was an easy pick for me. She's the show stealer. She steals episodes centered on the kids, serious episodes, funny episodes. She comes in and steals the day. And she does have her catchphrase. She always says, I failed as a mother, kind of like how Red calls everybody a dumbass. He has a catchphrase. This is her catchphrase. She has her own catchphrase on the show. She's just the ultimate hilarious, overly loving, overbearing, over the top, this crazy woman that no matter what you're going through or what the character's going through, she's going to be there, whether you want her to or not. She's going to give you advice. She's going to help you out. She's going to ruin things, but then she'll fix things for you, because that's what moms do. They're always there for you to help you. She's just, to me personally, the perfect mom, the funniest mom, and her character is just perfect.
I will say Beverly Goldberg out of the list probably reminds me most of my mother too.
Yes.
And Bob's exactly right when he talks about how, you know, we grew up with Smothers, the Latino community, right?
Yes.
I remember my mom. I would be getting ready to go out, and I was like a senior in high school, and this was towards the end, and she's like, where are you going out so late? And I was like, it's 7:30. Well, where are you going? I'm going with my buddy Johnny. And she'd be like, the one with the mustache and the earring? Oh, I don't know if you should go out with, you know, and every little thing would set her off. And my mom would always wait for me. You know, in the middle of the night, I'd come home and it'd be midnight and she'd be sitting there like, Mom, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I didn't know if you were going to get murdered, or I didn't know, you know.
And what was your dad? Asleep?
He was asleep.
He'll be fine, fuck it.
If I was murdered, you'd find out about it. So get some rest. So that's who Beverly Goldberg reminds me of. First of all, Big Tasty is the star of the show, but Beverly Goldberg is a star. But Beverly Goldberg is a star, and she's wonderful. The actress what's the name of the actress again, Bob?
Wendy McClellan.
Yeah, she was great in Bridesmaids too.
Oh yeah, yes. She was awesome in Bridesmaids, man.
Very funny. So this character is based on Adam F. Goldberg's real mom, the creator, the writer of the show. Great authentic 80s TV show. The 80s are they're a fun decade to, you know, talk about and joke about, but it's such a tough decade to capture on like a retroactive TV show or a TV show that's trying to appreciate the decade. But the 80s are difficult. They're a difficult era to capitalize on, but because so many shows and movies rely on the tropes and the over-the-top portrayals, and they try to sneak in like these 80s references. But I think the Goldbergs does a great job of just smooth 80s. You're watching it, you're having flashbacks. They talk about wrestling, they talk about toys, they talk about cartoons that were on at the time. And yes, she is the ultimate smother. The awkwardness. She would brush her kids' teeth. I saw that on an episode. I remember one episode where she showed up to Barry's school to give him a jockstrap and a cup to protect his special spot when he was going for soccer trials.
Yes, dude. Yes.
She just showed up in the classroom and kind of ducks in and gives him the jockstrap.
Dude, she ruined a lot. She wrestles him during wrestling just to prove a point on the mat in front of all like the high school. Yeah, it's hilarious. She's hilarious.
One of my favorite episodes was because she didn't like her kids going to these restaurants and skipping school, so she created a restaurant in her kitchen so kids wouldn't roam the streets. And she had like all these like recipes just so her kids could stay at home. I mean, she was fantastic. She's definitely one of the funniest moms on TV, and the gimmick of being an overbearing, underappreciated mom doesn't get old, but it does leave a lot of character outside. It doesn't leave a lot. I'm sorry. It doesn't leave a lot of character outside the embarrassingly funny mom. I do love the interactions between her and the father. Because she would say like these like long diatribes and he would respond like with a 1-word answer or 1-sentence answer. Like he didn't really give a shit.
He was distracted from reading the paper in his underwear.
We're gonna miss Jeff on that show. Yeah. I don't get tired of her smothering and snooping, but it doesn't show a lot of arc and growth, but it's one of those jokes. It doesn't get tiring. So I can't hate on that. She just like Kitty Foreman, she knows her path. She knows her avenue. She knows what's working for her. And that's where the character stays. But another good pick. Joseph, what do you think?
Like you said, like Bob said, totally agree with the character description. She's like Bob, obviously very overprotective, like as y'all been said. But I what you kind of said right now, I agree with. I don't think it's very funny. We watch it and we laugh at it and we find it hilarious because one, it being played by Wendy. Just call her Wendy because you got to do that whole McClendon Covey. Yeah. But Wendy, this great actress like Bob, like Randy mentioned, hilarious in Bridesmaids, but also in other movies as well. She's come out now in a lot of I don't want to say found her niche, but she's come out in a lot of Adam Sandler movies, and she's always hilarious in those too now. And she's very, very funny. So this was a perfect casting by this. You mentioned we all have that, and if you didn't, well, maybe I feel a little sorry for you. We grew up like that, and I think we're better people for that. Yeah. So as much as and we can laugh at it and we think it's funny, but we feel that, like Bob mentioned, that the mother that we can relate to. Yes. And that's what's perfect with this character, with this show. The catchphrases like I think one of y'all mentioned, I felt as a mother. I mean, obviously, it's very funny. The character's stubborn a little bit at times, but so what? She clearly, I think this is a show where, like Bob mentioned, she outshines, and I know there's some issues with the husband's character, but she's the show. She's the star. Yeah, it's her show. Star. Yeah, and so this is a great example of I guess us seeing, as like in the questions we talked about in the beginning, giving the mother her due, the mother her show.
Yeah, exactly. Good point.
And I think this is a great example of that. It's funny you mentioned, Bob, like this is this is like your aunt, and it's kind of, I think you said like she can maybe remind you of your mother a little bit. Just to me personally, Kitty is like, I see your mom.
Yeah, Kitty is more my mom. I think
so that's how. That's. But then again, because I grew up like that. So
yeah, I mean, like I'm saying, but then again, like my mom asked me a couple of years ago. Me and Joseph drove to Houston to go see a Texans game, and my mom was like, "Oh, you're leaving Saturday? Do you know how to get there?" I was like, "To Houston." Of course not, Mom. I'm fucking 35 with 2 kids. Of course not. I've been in Houston plenty of time. Do I know how to get there? What the?
Jesus Christ. Yeah. So yeah, that's a kind of a reason what drew me to Kitty Foreman as my pick, and feeling that relatableness to it, and we get that with this character too. Obviously, Beverly Goldberg, hilarious. We laugh. We know it's funny. We know it's at the expense of her kids, but come on, she's a loving mom. It's perfect. She's awesome. She
definitely reminds me of my aunts, and I know this is a funny story from high school. I have an aunt that's really overbearing and really like that. And in high school, she worked at our high school, and she saw Joseph in a crowded hallway. I think we were seniors, and she was like, "Hey, mijo, can you please tie my shoe?" And she made him. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, sure." He made her. He tied her shoe in the middle of the crowd. I did it. Being Fast and Furious. He did it because he loves me. That's why.
And I was like, "Oh my god!" This is obviously how close I am. Well, how close we all are. One, you all are related, but how close our families have been, and how close we are to each other's families. It's real random in the middle of the passing.
Joseph with his fucking Pantera and fuck the world look in his face. Like I'm not tugging in my shirt. Nobody can tell me what to do. Can you tell me tie my shoe? Of course, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Double nodded.
Yeah. But dude, I mean, I think that I don't know if it's because our background and the Mexican American background and our families, our whole culture, but the overbearing Tia, our mom, our aunt, or grandmother, we see that a lot. They still kind of baby their kids, not necessarily baby them, but like still think of them as kids. And I think that's kind of cool that they're always there to like look out for you and to give you advice, even though you're older, you have kids, and they're still thinking like, hey, and still giving you like advice to give to a kid, a teen or somebody who's still in high school. And I think that's really sweet, and it's really reminds me of growing up in my childhood upbringing. And I think that's why she was such an easy pick for me. She was so relatable for me.
Yeah.
I know we dissed George Lopez earlier, but he has a great joke where he says, you never see any Mexican homeless people because we never leave the house because our parents are like, don't leave. Don't go. You got a room. Your journey posters are still up there.
It's free for free. Got dinner ready at 6 o'clock.
So we'll go on to my pick. I selected Claire Huxtable, played by Felicia Rashad from The Cosby Show. Claire Huxtable. So let's get away from the unseasoned food. And let's talk about a true pioneer as a TV mother. Back in the 80s, it was revolutionary to see a person of color, much less a woman of color, to be so polarizing in both the home and professional landscape. Felicia Rashad played the perfect supporting wife and mother. And obviously, we know who her husband is. We're going to try to avoid any, tasteless jokes, because that's what we do here. We avoid tasteless jokes about Bill Cosby.
Rashad was a great wide receiver for the Steelers. Yes, I don't know what you're talking about.
I think he was a Vikings tight end, I think. So Claire Huxtable was an attorney. She had 5 kids. Her husband was a doctor, and I imagine he administered proper sedatives as a doctor. Unlike okay, we're gonna get away from that. Okay,
memos.
All right, she didn't put up with any nonsense from her kids or her husband. And she was just so quick-witted, smart, and cool. I think that's the thing. If you look at Claire Huxtable, you look at these old scenes. Yes, they're very dated. You look at the hair, you look at the wardrobe, and you look to see The Cosby Show was very family-friendly. It wasn't as cutting edge. There wasn't no jokes about, marijuana. There wasn't any jokes about drinking or alcoholism. It was so clean-cut, but she was so cool. And she never bought into anyone's bullshit. And Theo and his buddy Cockroach tried several times to scheme, but Mom was right there to not insult them, not to humiliate them, but to talk to them about what's right from wrong. She used to grill the daughter's boyfriends, and that was always hilarious. I mean, if you watch some of the scenes where she grills her daughter's boyfriends and she talks to them about feminism and about how to treat a lady and about equal rights, I mean, those were classic. I mean, she nailed this dialogue and these scenes all the time. There was one time where she found Theo's porn magazine stash, and I told you that this was 80s and very clean. So it was a car and women magazine. It wasn't like a Playboy or a Penthouse or anything. So
Lowrider.
They toned it down, and she calmly told him why it was wrong. She didn't say, "What are you doing with this smut?" and this is degrading to women. She told him why it was bad. They even made a few jokes about it back and forth, but she did it in a very classy, non-embarrassing manner. She had class, talent, beauty. She raised 4 out of 5 successful kids. Sorry, Denise. She didn't need gimmicky attributes because that's not what.
How dare you? That's nice.
That's not what being a mother is all about. She got onto her kids, but she fiercely protected them. Claire Huxtable had the best "I'm going to tell you how it is" speeches, and Cliff would cover his face, and he fucking knew what was about to go down. But I mean, she was just a pillar, not only for women of color, not only for 80s television. I think The Cosby Show was like the #1 show like for 8 straight seasons, something ridiculous like that. But I mean, I think she was an inspiration to the working mom, to the mom who's balancing 5 kids, a very stressful, demanding job, and of course a husband who has a very stressful, demanding job. And I think that's why she's incredible, and that's why she's TV's best mom. What do you guys think?
Obviously, I think this is when we saw the big transition from the stay-at-home mom, which was like a staple in a lot of early TV shows, to this hardworking, successful woman, especially being a minority woman, which is completely fantastic to be able to showcase that on a TV show. A minority woman who's extremely successful. Like I said, she was a lawyer, she was and she was a mom. Like, she had everything going for her perfectly. She was this uber serious, working mom that was the perfect yin to the yang for Bill Cosby, who played Mr. Huxtable, which is really goofy. Another dude that married up, obviously.
Yeah.
I think they had a good contrast to each other, to be honest with you, because of course, he was real like laid back and goofy and all that pudding pop bullshit. So, her character was extremely cool and different because she wasn't the funny character. She wasn't the goofy mom or the really loving mom. She was the stern mom. She was the one that was going to tell it like it was, and I think that played a lot to her favor. I wish that she wasn't as serious or as stern as a mom. I feel like she was not. I don't want to say one dimensional, but I think she was a little bit. She kind of falls into that category a little bit. That she was a little too serious all the time. She was the one to sit the kids down and talk to the boyfriends and give them the stern talks and the mean talks. Let them know how shit was, the way she ran the house, the way she wanted her son or her daughter or whoever to be treated. I wish she had that really funny, goofy side, like kind of like Claire Dunphy, who's from Modern Family. She's extremely serious and extremely, she's more uptight, but she also has that crazy and funny side and that kind of shit. I wish they showed other facets of her personality on the show, because there was really small flashes where she can be very like smiley and laughy and goofy and personable and funny, but for the most part, she is very closed off. This serious, stern lawyer who's also a mother, who's also a wife, and trying to keep the family in order and going in the right path, especially her son and her daughters, because there's a lot of different subjects and the different subject matter that they had to go through on that show. So if they had showed a lighter side to her more often, I could definitely agree that she's the best TV show mom. But I think because she's kind of she's not so. They didn't show all her personality. I think that kind of holds her back just a little bit. I do like the fact that they show a strong, independent, successful woman as the mother, as the matriarch in this family. I think that's fantastic for it being. When did it come out? In what, like 81?
Yeah, early 80s. It ran
early 80s, 90s, right?
Yeah,
I think that's fucking fantastic that you saw that in the early 80s. I think that it's wonderful for females to have that kind of mother or female to look up to, so to speak. But if she had just been a little looser, like as far as like comedy wise, and I think that's being just picky because I'm into more of comedy and sitcoms and that type of thing, and she was a little more of this serious role. What do you think about her, Joe?
I can agree with that pretty much. Like Bob mentioned, she originally was supposed to be written as a housewife. It was great to see her be this career woman, career mother, the type of character that we talked about in the beginning when we were answering some questions about why the mothers were not given the opportunity to be more than just the housewife at home, supportive character to the father or to the kid, whoever the show's about. This was a great, like Randy mentioned, defining, or how did you describe it? I'm sorry, in the beginning.
She was a
pioneering.
Pioneering, yeah.
Pioneering. I think for TV moms and their characters, like Bob said, and I agree with that. She's serious. She is. I don't want to call her super serious, but she's serious. We don't get to see a lot of her. We don't get to see a lot of her comedic chops, and I guess that's going to be. Look, I'm going to say his name a bunch of times. Probably that's probably because of Bill Cosby. It was clearly his show. It's the Cosby Show, obviously, even though his name's Cliff Huxtable. He was Bill Cosby. It was the Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was huge. He was. I mean,
that's just
in America's eyes. I mean,
Sorry.
But seriously, he was. So, I mean, the show isn't going to be about him. I'd say he's exactly 90% in every episode the main character. Even if that includes like scenes that didn't where the story is not necessarily about him, he's still going to be in that shot. So and I think that's where they didn't. I don't know if that's who was he the main writer. I don't know if that's the writer's decision.
I think they just started the show based on him and his comedy.
Yeah, and he was everything went through him. He was the creator.
But I am
fuck that guy. But
I am
all politics aside, but fuck that guy.
I am happy that she like I said, that she was given the career mom character, although I mean, clearly she loved her children. I'm not going to say that she didn't. Like, it can just because by the show's premise, you'd think that it's a comedy. It was a sitcom. It was supposed to be a sitcom. Of course, the sitcoms, can delve into some serious issues. And of course, there's always going to be some serious issues. I don't think sneaking out to see, I mean, don't sneak out, but there was that one episode where they sneak out to go see a rock concert and she gave a fierce tongue lashing. So, music, I love that. So, but yeah, it's kind of like where Cosby, where Cliff is the clown to make you like feel like, oh, I'm gonna save the day to my children, because my wife is the stern, lawyer. I wish, like I said, I wish they had seen more. She was a very, very great character, very great acting. She's I aside from being a mother, she has a very, I'm sure we don't really see this with like my pick and Bob's pick, but she's a woman as well. She's very sensual with Cliff. You see that a lot. Yeah. So you see that in this character.
Kitty always wanted to have sex with Red.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. I think they call it Kitty.
I think with this character, this was the model for what Aunt Viv was supposed to be. Whether
I think it's fair to say.
That's a really good.
I don't comment. Because you can look at the first Aunt Viv and see that she was like, okay, yeah. I have no problems with her character. Then I don't. It's the behind the scenes stuff that kind of sounds crazy, but I liked her character. I thought she was funny, and she was extremely. She was both. She was this woman, the career mom, and the comedic mom. Because Aunt Viv, the first Aunt Viv, she was funny too. She was very funny. She had comebacks.
She was a little more stern with a career mother type of thing. Yeah.
Yes, but she wasn't Claire Huxtable. So I think Claire was the beginning to what we saw later. It's not to say that it wasn't a great character. She clearly loved her kids, like we've all said. She was there for them. She was just kind of, unfortunately, in this case, the supporting second character to what Bill Cosby was at the time, this huge giant in comedy, and it was clearly his show. We suffer from that. We didn't get the chance to see a maybe better, more
diverse character,
personality from her because of the fact that it was the Cosby Show.
Those are fair, and I kind of expected that those responses about her not being as likable. I think that's a fair thing to say, that she wasn't as comedic in terms of the zaniness and the snappy one-liners. She was very funny.
But I don't think that's her fault. I really don't.
No, it isn't. And we don't really think of her as a comedic actress. She's still working. She played Creed's mom, I believe, in the last Creed movie. And I think that was intentional because Bill Cosby was the one getting all the silly laughs. He was doing the dances. She, every now and then, she would dance and she would do something silly, but it was very rare. I was looking for YouTube clips. I was like, come on, you got to give me something about Claire Huxtable being just insanely funny. And there was a few where she was dancing and she would run into an old college roommate, and it was really cool. And I'm with you guys. I don't disagree. I think they should have given her more of that. I think they should have showcased her more, but I also think it was the zeitgeist of it all. I think the show was in 1984. It was all about Bill Cosby. It's comedy. And she was more of the supportive wife character that would, lay the hammer on the children, but then also be the voice of reason when Cliff does something, idiotic. But I also think that the fact that she was so pioneering, and we saw somebody that the representation matters in everything. I don't want to get political or anything, but it did matter then. And I think it was, it started to embark this journey for the Aunt Vivs, for the, Harriet Winslows, and for, even the Angie Lopez's and all these other women who came after her. But, I do agree. She's not as funny as Kitty Foreman. She's not as funny as Bev Goldberg, but I think more important than that, she's a pioneer.
Oddly enough, she at times.
I'm sorry. I was going to say she doesn't put raisins in her potato salad, but go
ahead. Oddly enough, she's also, a disciplinary figure to Cliff at times too, keeping him in check.
She didn't do a good enough job
as him. As him being the character that is supposed to be the goofy, dad. Speaking of goofy dads who get a woman who's way out of their league.
What kind of question do you have for me, Joseph? Come on, tell me.
I'm making a point. No,
which one of us are you going to talk about?
No, I'm sorry. I phrased that wrong. Speaking of dad characters that have wives. Way hotter wives cast as their women cast as their wives. Claire was way out of Cliff's league.
yeah, and I think way younger, way more too classy for him. Do you guys remember?
She's so classy. She is. Yeah. She's very classy. She's like a princess at times, and he is the goofball. Like, I mean, it's just
welcome to the real world, Joseph.
It's this weird pairing. But it
was the show. Like, why did I marry this fucking asshole?
Do you guys remember Adam Sandler's 4-episode run as Theo's friend Smitty on the Cosby Show?
I do not.
A little bit. A little bit.
And I want to say, and I might be completely wrong. I was trying to find this on my research, but I think he was fired because Bill Cosby didn't like him. I think Bill Cosby didn't like his comedy or didn't like Adam Sandler. Because I know Bill Cosby was fired.
He's laughing now.
He fired the actor who played Cockroach because he had an earring and he was letting his hair grow too long. And Bill Cosby wanted clean cut kids for his son's friends. And when that guy reneged, he fired him. And I think Adam Sandler, it might have had to do with his comedy act. I'm not 100% sure, but great TV moms all around. Guys, before we wrap up, do any of you have an embarrassing mom story? Final question. Because I got one. I think it'll top both of yours, but do you guys have one?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Randy.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Go ahead. Nobody's going to top this one. So I was shopping for school clothes sophomore year. It is the last time I shopped with my mom for good reason. So my mom and my mom didn't drive, and my dad dropped us off at the mall. We were probably like in some 90s show, some 90s store. Like Buckle or
Structure. It was
Structure or the County.
Yes, I love that store.
Or was that Chess King or something? I don't know what it was. But let's just say we were at Structure.
We were at Diddler's. We're at Bell's.
I go into the store and there was this really pretty this girl that worked at the store. I can't remember the name. Store clerk, not clerk. What do you call people who work at a store?
That sounds very uppity.
Salesperson.
What do you call them simple people that fold clothes at a store?
She was a sales. I'm at a loss for words at this point. It's been a rough week, everybody. I shared it with these guys. So there was this very attractive salesperson. She had to have been in college. And I think she thought I was a little older than what I was. I was, 16 years old, 15 years old, whatever. And so she was talking to me and just like, hey, and what college did you go to? And I mentioned the local college or whatever. And I go on to try on clothes and my mom walks in. My mom opens the dressing room when I was changing and I'm in my underwear. And at the time I was wearing tighty whities. And so the salesperson, this really attractive salesperson, is right behind my mom, and she sees everything. And so I say, Mom, and then the young woman says, well, I'm sorry. And then my mom says, don't worry about it. He's just a baby. I was like, what the fuck, Mom? I was like, what the fuck, Mom? I mean, it was just.
Oh, that's hilarious. He's just a baby.
I know. She's like, he's a baby. Don't worry. The way she said it was so embarrassing. And, full disclosure for everybody, I lost my mom in 2010, and I could laugh at that stuff now. It's hilarious. But I mean, back then, I wanted to just run the hell out of there and
hide under your bed.
Hide under my bed. Did not want to talk to her for 5 days because I was so embarrassed. But yeah, she opened the door and said, "Hey, it's okay. He's a baby." like if I was wearing diapers or Muppet Baby pull up.
That's hilarious, man.
What about you guys? Any embarrassing stories?
I honestly, I'm sorry, I can't really think of anything. I'm sure there's been instances, and I have my own because we grew, like we've mentioned, we grew. We're children of Mexican American culture. South Texas Mexican American culture, and so we have our own. I'm sure Bob has his own story too of trying on clothes at a certain age, and I wasn't in. I can't think of anything embarrassing, but Randy, I know what you've you've been through, because I think I did once. I went to go try clothes, and I walked out with everything, and my mom was standing outside there, and she asked, "Why didn't you come outside so I can see?" And I said, "Because I
want to see how the pants fit.
I don't need to. I like the way they fit. They're fine. Let's go."
No,
but no, I mean, we all have our own. So we all have our own story like that, I'm sure. But no, I mean, I can't think of anything that off the top of my head, but I'm sure, like I'm not spared in this.
I'm gonna say something. It's not like an embarrassing story, but this is for my mom, because it's something I've always laughed about. My mom is notoriously the worst gift giver in like the history of gift giving, birthday and Christmas. I mean, I swear to God, like she's like, "Oh, what kind of shorts do you want? You've been running a lot. What kind of shorts?" She'll like show up with like bright fucking orange or like highlighter yellow like short shorts for running. She's been the type, like, she's never met a sale that she didn't say like, "Oh, but it was on sale." Like she bought my dad a briefcase one year for Christmas. He was like, "I'm not a fucking lawyer. Why would I need a briefcase?" And she get all mad. She's like notoriously like the worst gift giver ever, and she's been that way since forever. Like I mean, terrible. I mean, I don't want to go too much into like my career, my person, but like she is terrible, like terrible gift giving. So that's been one of the things. She's a terrible gift giver, and I'm trying to think of a specific story that goes along with it, but that's the kind of thing I've always lived with in my life, or yelling out Bobby real loud, and I'm like, "I'm not Bobby, man, I'm Bob," or you know what I mean? I'm not Bob. Like she'd yell that out like in high school, like from the window or whatever, or like I don't know. But she's embarrassed me plenty of times. I'm sure I'm sure I've embarrassed her and disappointed her way more than that. Yeah. So that's a fair assessment. But she's always been kind of cool. But she's definitely embarrassed me. She's definitely embarrassed me for a couple of years. But the gift giving thing, that if I can mention one thing about my mom on Mother's Day, or this, she is the worst. And like, you know, I love my mom and I love everything that she's got me. But like something like, "Oh my God, I got you this watch. It's like a $400 watch, but I got it for $30 at Ross. Can you believe that?" It's not a fucking $400 watch. It's a $30 goddamn dollar watch. It doesn't even work. It barely ticks. No. It's real. It's like, it was on sale. I was like, why would they sell it that cheap? It's a $30 watch. No, but the price tag said $400 on sale for $30. You don't understand. It always makes me laugh. And always. Or like, she'll be like, what do you want for your birthday? Like, "No, you can get me whatever." No, tell me, what do you want for your birthday? What do you want? Like, is there a cologne? Is there a wallet? Yeah, sure, I want this, you know. Okay, you give me this certain cologne or this wallet. Okay, awesome. And then she'll show up with like Fila cutoff shirt and like highlighter shorts. I thought you could use this. And like, why would you ask me what I fucking need if you're gonna give me like, you're gonna go with what you found on sale at Kohl's or whatever. So that's just a little bit about my mom. Yeah.
I still get mijos from across the aisle, or if like my mom needs help going to go get something from like Home Depot or something like that, having the truck. So, you know, we'll go get it, and I can be across, you know, somewhere looking at like, you know, barbecue pits or something, and then mija. Oh shit. Okay, can you just text me on my phone and I'll be fine. Just call me and I'll be all right.
I wish like my you have to mention your mom, Rand, because your mom was like our mom. It was like definitely like my second mom was like Joseph's second mom for sure. She there's a lot of her. I can see when you mentioned the story about her, I laughed so hard because I can see her doing that. "Oh, he's just a baby, don't worry." Like she was always such a sweetheart to us and so nice, like so nice to us, and very motherly whenever we went over and hung out, and we were over there all the damn time. I loved your mom a ton. Damn, there was something that was correlated with that, and I'm blanking right now. Shit. But it had to do with like the mijo thing, and yeah, we got the mijo thing a lot, or like that type of thing. But it's good that we have great stories about. Oh, that's what I was gonna ask. Or mention a funny story about my mom. And I know we're running a little long, but it's funny anyways. Like I think one of my kids was doing something wrong, and I was like, "You better fucking cut that out, or I'm gonna spank him on the way home." And she was like, "You can't spank them. Why would you spank them? You're not that type of parent. I was like, you all used to spank me all the time when I was a kid. I never spanked you. And I was like, what do you mean you never spanked me? You used to pinch the shit out of my arm at Belt or whatever. But you were misbehaving then. You weren't like that. Pinch the shit out of me at the store. You better be quiet. I'm going to tell your dad. She would like grind her teeth. Yeah. You better be quiet, like in church or at the store. We're going to go home right now and grind her teeth real loud and pinch the shit out of my arm.
That classic.
She thought that I never hit you. That was worse than getting you pinched in your arm fat behind your tricep. It hurt.
Before we go, guys, we do have a new addition to our show. We have listener voicemail, and we have a couple of friends, a couple of listeners who left voicemails. They talked a little bit about our episode last week. Last week we did best 80s movie montage, so we have a couple of voicemails we're going to play right now, and then we're going to come back and briefly talk about them and wrap up the show. So let's go ahead and listen to those voicemails.
Hi, this is Alex. I'm a longtime Formidable Opponents, faithful listener. I really appreciate you guys and the work you do on your podcast. I enjoy your podcast every morning on my way to work. I recently caught the 80s Montage podcast, and I enjoyed the debate on the Rocky IV No Easy Way Out montage. I got to agree with Randall. I think he hit the nail right on the head. It is a perfect example of a montage done well. I also enjoyed the very graphic public service announcement on prostate exams. So you guys keep up the good work. I enjoy everything that you're doing.
After hearing the 80s montage episode, I am going to have to completely agree with Joseph. He wins, hands down. How can you compete against Scarface's montage? Push it to the limit, guys. I mean, Joseph didn't even take the knockout montage of Hearts on Fire and Rocky. I mean, my pick would have been Over the Top, but, y'all tore that one a new one, so it's all good. Joseph wins, hands down.
All right, guys. Thoughts on the voicemails? First of all, I got a few things to say. Alex, you're absolutely right. Thank you so much.
You can tell the bias. I totally agree with Randall. Who calls you Randall? Get at it. Yeah, I think that this is Alex. Thanks for the response, man, and Joe Mike. Thanks for
thanks, guys.
Thank you all for the response. This is so incredibly cool. I honestly, personally think because you get comments on Instagram and on Twitter, and you don't know what the person actually sounds like or how like funny or into it their comment that they actually are. There's no context there really. So it's really cool that we can get these memos in, and anybody who's a fan of our show, it's crazy to say fan of our podcast. Like, who wants to listen to these dumbasses, right? It's really awesome. Anybody who wants to put one out there, I mean, anybody that has any kind of comment, even if it's to tell us that we're totally wrong and we should have gone with, another pick or this person or that person, or to tell us that their mom is overbearing like ours and, made fun of us while we were in our tidy whities. That's awesome, dude. Anybody who wants to make a comment and wants to be featured on the show, we'll throw you on, man. We promise. So make a comment, especially after all of Randy's terrible comments today. I'm sure you have plenty to say.
And you can make those comments at memo.fm/Formidable Opponents. Formidable Opponents is all together, and it's on the show notes. And Joe Michael, I know you back Joseph, but how can you respect a guy whose favorite 80s montage was an arm wrestling contest set to a Sammy Hagar song? I can't respect that.
Maybe he just likes holding hands.
So thank you guys so much for leaving those comments. And that's our show, everyone. Listeners, we'd love to hear from you. Hit us up and let us know what is your favorite or who is your favorite all-time TV mom. Most importantly, let us know what you think about the show. You may reach us at formidableopponents@gmail.com, and you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by searching for Formidable Opponents. And once again, we want to thank Creative Little Pill for her contribution in that awesome cover art. And join us next episode. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We're going to celebrate Mother's Day with the mothers in our lives. And Joseph has a birthday coming up too. So
welcome to 37.
We're going to
30. I'm 37
in a row.
So we're gonna go ahead and put a pause next week, and we'll be back in 2 weeks as we will be debating best opening movie scene. So for Bob and Joseph, this is Randall. We'll see y'all next time.
Mom, the meatloaf.
You want it now.